Hello and welcome to episode number 70 of the MR Runningpains podcast. My name is Aaron Saft, and my guest today is Cory Keehn. Cory recently won the Quest for the Crest 50K and has a great story. He is an amazing individual. You'll hear all about his trials and tribulations from qualifying for the Olympic marathon trials by running a 1:05 half marathon, which is blazing fast, obviously, and then unfortunately sustaining an injury, not getting to go to the Olympic trials, and skipping right over the marathon and into the world of 50Ks. Really awesome guy. Great, like I said, just great story, his background and things that have gone on in his life. A million things have gone on since I have last talked to you guys. My big news is I am into hard rock. I got into hard rock. I'm going to talk about that at the end of the episode in the conclusion. But I want to first present to you my conversation with Cory Keehn. As I said in the introduction, I am welcoming to the show Cory Keehn. Cory, how are you today?
I'm doing all right. Had a good run earlier today and got a nap in, so that's always good to get a good nap after a hard workout.
Awesome. Cory and I are recording on Wednesday, June 2nd, just to give everybody an idea of when this was recorded in case things change in the time between now and when this podcast is released. But Cory, if you would just kind of start by telling us who you are, where you came from, and how you got into the sport of running.
Yeah. So currently right now, I am a part of Mountain Running Company here in Boone, North Carolina. And so I've been working with them for about a year. Enjoy getting to talk about running on a daily basis and nerd out about shoes and treat it a lot as a health profession. So that's what I'm currently doing. As far as like when I got into running, my first official race was 3 days before I turned 3. So I saw my parents run as runners and they never pressured me into it. I just saw them doing it and I wanted to do it. And so I ran a mile race at that age. I think it took me like 17 minutes or something like that. And,
nice.
And so that was kind of the first official competition, but I didn't really train for running until I got to high school. Up until that point, I just ran because I enjoyed it. So.
Right on. Talk about your parents a little bit. What level were they into the sport? What kind of racing did they do and such?
Yeah, so they both competed at a NAIA school in Kansas, Eastern Kansas. And at NAIA, they have the marathon at a national level. So my dad was a marathoner, and then my mom was a half miler. So quite the range for them. Shortly after college, they didn't really have good coaching, so they had lots of issues with their body. They also didn't wear good shoes, which was another reason why working with Mountain Running Company is I want to keep people healthy, and I've seen what it does to not have the right gear with my own parents. And so if I can avoid that or help other people avoid that, then I'll do it.
Awesome. What were the PRs for your parents?
I think my mom was 2:18, 800 meter runner. Yeah. And then my dad was like a 2:40 marathoner.
Okay.
So they were pretty decent. Though my mom had not a single competitive bone in her body. She told me that she felt bad when second place would run with her the whole race. She felt bad, like outleaning a person. Actually, I don't get that. I've lost a lot of races to being outleaned, but not because I let them outlean me.
So talk about your high school experience. What brought you into the sport in high school?
Well, I did a little bit of cross country racing in middle school and just enjoyed being out and racing on the grass. I never really liked track that much. And so when I got to high school, I really just wanted to compete in cross country. Unfortunately, track kind of comes along with that. I got to liking track a little bit more as I went along, but cross country was really my main love. Even throughout college, that was kind of my thing. So it's not surprising that I got into the trail realm eventually.
Right. So you grew up in Kansas. Were you aware of the legends of Kansas? Like the Jim Ryans and the Billy Mills?
Yeah. I'd met Jim Ryan multiple times. He'd usually come out to like the state track meet, and he'd show up at some cross country meets. So yeah, I got to meet him a few times, and he's a real cool guy. And yeah.
Nice. So for those that don't know Jim Ryan was the first high schooler to break the 4-minute mile. And Billy Mills was a Native American that received the gold medal in the 10K. I believe he's the last American to get the gold medal in the 10K. And I think that was 1960. Do you remember 62?
I couldn't tell you exactly.
I'd have to look that up. But Billy Mills scored the last American gold for us, and he ran for the University of Kansas. Amazing story. He has a movie out there, and he does a lot of great things with awareness for the indigenous tribes of America, which is, he's an outstanding individual. I've met him a few times as well. Really, really amazing story. So yeah, Kansas, amazing, amazing history. And so high school, how was it? Did you have a good experience with high school?
I didn't necessarily have a coach who quite knew what he was doing. He's a good man. Just wasn't really sure how to coach athletes. And so I really didn't know how to train until I got to college. We basically raced 3 times a week. So we would do it was called a pace per mile, which was more or less a race. There was no pacing involved. So I would pretty much race 3 mile on Monday, a 3 mile on Wednesday, and then an official 5K on Friday at competition. So I actually wasn't that fast of a runner in high school. I think my fastest 5K in high school was in practice running 1640. At competition was like a 1650. So I wasn't the top recruit in the state or anything else. Yeah, not that great.
Yeah. Okay. And where did that bring you to?
So I ended up running at Fort Hays State University. It was a D2 school in the middle of Western Kansas, which is a really good fit for me. It's a smaller community, cheap tuition, so that was part of it. And I had a coach there who knew what he's doing. He was a very high mileage coach, so I went from running like 5 miles a day in high school and spending most of my high school career injured. Not surprising, typical high school student of overtrain, run on injuries, that whole brutal cycle of stress fractures, Achilles strains, all that. And then I ended up going to Fort Hays State and had a coach who looked at me early on, and he said, "Do not run faster than the top guys on easy days." He's like, "And don't even do it on hard days." He's like, "If you want to run faster than them at races, do that. But while you're at practice, I don't ever want to see you in front of them." And it sounds like an odd thing to say, but that was probably one of the wisest things he could have said, because coming from my background, I didn't know anything. And I needed to learn how to slow down. Easy days in high school look like 6-minute pace. In college, my coach said, "I don't want you running faster than 7-minute pace." And that's where I saw 1450 indoor 5K time pop out within a year after graduating high school. So it turns out easy days are incredibly important. And I'm convinced now that easy days are the hardest things for runners to do. Anybody can go kill a workout. It's a good boost to your ego, makes you feel good about yourself, makes everybody else around you, be impressed with you, proud of you. But it's the easy days that are incredibly difficult. But they're what make you fast.
Yes. I've said that quite a few times on this podcast, that the easy days have to be easy because that's where your adaptations are made from the hard days. So yes, I totally agree. In college, I was the black sheep. We were of the program that, just like you were in high school, that, even the easy days were still fast and hard. And, I needed recovery. Like I just couldn't do it, so I just made my slower days like easy. I was like, I'm sorry guys. Like when they started picking it up, I was like, I'm going to turn around and just go back so I don't get caught up in this.
They were two-stepping you.
And it benefited me. It was a race, we should have just had singlets on. It was a race every run, it was a matter of pride. When you look back at it, who was the top dog and who was going to win the run. So, but yeah, I realized pretty quickly that I needed, to take my easy days easier. And, that's what I reiterate to my athletes on this podcast is just, and I've said it time and again that if Kipchoge can do 9:30 per mile for a recovery run, I think all of us can run at least 9:30 miles or slower on our easy days. So if we look at the best in the world, the Kenyans, the Ethiopians, they are definitely, advocates of taking the easy day easy. So I don't mean to harp on that, but I think that's a great point. So thank you for bringing that up. So 1450 freshman year, where did it go from there?
Well, the first time I could have broken 15 was at an indoor track meet at the University of Nebraska. And I ended up getting disqualified because my teammate and I got lapped by a guy running 14 flat. And he passed us the exact time we hit the line. And so the bell rang and we didn't realize we got passed. And so we both sprinted to the line and we hit 4,800 meters and we stepped off the track. So yeah, that was.
Yeah. That's a tough rule. And just so everybody listening understands, it's a 200-meter track. So we're not talking your standard outdoor track. They're a shorter track. And, people getting lapped, it comes a lot quicker, obviously, because of that. And some, tracks, it depends on how many people are in a heat. They have a rule. If you're lapped, you have to step off the track. That's, unfortunate rule. And
they actually didn't make us step off the track in that race. We just ended up sprinting to the line thinking we were finishing the race. And when we came to what we thought was the finish, then we stepped off the track. And of course, once you're off the track, you're done. And so we got disqualified that way, which is okay because I made up for that lost lap senior year. Myself and one other Kansas guy, we were trying to run right around 8:10 for a 3K. And so we were helping each other. And the lap counters somehow were counting the entire field behind us, which we had lapped. And so we ran an extra lap that race. So yeah, I got to make up for it. It was all good.
My goodness. And how did cross country go? Cross country in college is 8K and 10K. So where did you find yourself in that?
Well, getting used to the 8K distance took a little while. I usually found myself somewhere between second or third on the team that year. And then in the 10K later on in the season, I was kind of the middle of the pack, in all honesty, when it came to like a regional meet. I was, right around 25:10 for 8K as a freshman. So, pretty much the top of the middle pack, back of the top pack. That was kind of where
by your senior year, what did that come down to?
Winning most races by the senior year. I ended up dropping just under 24 minutes for an 8K and 29:40 for a 10K in cross country. So.
Awesome. That's great. And then did you get to do the 10K on the track as well?
Though my coach had this, I don't know if it was his strategy or his thought, but like the week before every single 10K, I would race like a hard 1500. And which I don't know, seemed kind of odd at the time, but when you step on the track a week later after having raced a hard 1500, makes the 10K feel like a snail's pace. So it's kind of a fun memory. But yeah, no, the 10K was my main event, and the 5K a little bit too.
Right on. So your senior year, what did you end up with PRs in the 5K?
Actually ran 14:24 in the 5K. That was an indoor 5K. Outdoor is pretty slow when it comes to Kansas. Unless you can travel out of the state, you're not going to find a fast 10K. It's too dang windy. The chances of finding a track that's blocked by the wind is near impossible. So I actually paid for my own plane ticket to go fly in California so that I could qualify for nationals in the 10K. So one of the downside of being a D2 athlete.
Where did you go? Stanford?
I went to San Francisco.
Where did you go in California?
At the time, they just started a race called the San Francisco Distance Carnival. And there usually was a few guys running right around that 2950 range, which at the time, that's what it took to get to D2 cross country or D2 track nationals. Yeah, I did. I got out-leaned for the win, but I did end up qualifying for nationals at that place. So
awesome.
I PR'd there.
Did you PR there or at nationals?
Running 2940 there, and then at nationals, I got second to last. I had the worst race of probably all of college at nationals. Luckily, I had redshirted cross country, so I didn't end college on that note. So I was able to redeem it come cross country.
Cool. Very cool. And then that brings you post-collegiately. Did you stay
so the start
Kansas
of my redshirt cross country season, which would have been, let's see, what is 2015. I started grad school at that point. So I stayed in Kansas to work on my master's in organizational leadership. And once I finished my eligibility in cross country, that January is when I had ran the Houston half marathon. I had qualified for the Olympic trials marathon. I ran 64:20.
With what time?
In the half marathon. Yeah. Which is kind of funny because I basically ran my third and fourth fastest 10Ks back to back in the half. So it does help to have people in the race to pull you along and for you to help them out. When you're running solo all the time, it's a little more difficult. Sub 65.
What was the standard?
Yeah, so I wouldn't have qualified this time around.
Sub 65.
Yeah.
Because it was sub 64 this go around, right? Yeah. Right on. So here's another unfortunate part, but
then I ended up getting injured, overtraining, going past going harder on easy days, doing stupid fast long runs, and ended up getting injured and didn't run the trials, and was able to run a few national championship races throughout that spring. But by the time summer hit, I was just burnt out, still recovering from injury, and in all honesty, just didn't really want to race anymore. And that was about the time my wife and I moved as well. So that entire year of 2015, 2016, I learned some unfortunate lessons the hard way. It was, when you're a full-time grad student, a part-time graduate assistant, you're running 100-mile running weeks, you're into your second year of marriage, and doing 10 hours of personal training classes a week. It's too much for anybody to maintain. And it showed with me. I could only do it for a year span, and then I wanted nothing to do with any of it except marriage. I stuck with the marriage part. Yes, yeah. I couldn't not
way to sneak that in there.
Especially since we're coming up on 7 years this Saturday.
Oh, nice. Congrats. That's fantastic. Very nice. So,
Yeah,
did you
so
take a little
see, the
break
summer
after
of
all of that?
2016, my wife and I just decided we wanted to leave the Midwest. We didn't really have a plan. We had heard about Boone, North Carolina area through Zap Endurance, the professional marathon club here in Boone, and so I didn't was never a part of the team, but that's how I heard about Boone, and so my wife and I just kind of picked up and left. I split firewood for an entire year to make a living while my wife was still in school. So we were pretty poor, and I just didn't run anymore. I would go out and run when I felt like it, but I didn't actually train and have no idea what type of mileage I was doing. Yeah, I was done at that point.
Yeah, gotcha. What reignited the
Let's see,
fire,
we
and
got
when did
here
that
in
fire reignite?
2016. I really didn't get that fire reignited until this last January, believe it or not. So that August of 2016 to
Okay.
January of 2021. Yeah, I know I had to think there for a moment. Yeah, so a good 4.5, 5 year span. I guess 5 year span. I was just kind of off and on running. There were all kinds of issues in that time, just in a bad job situation. And I spent a good 3 of those 5 years battling alcoholism. And so, yeah, I've been sober for a year and a half now, so that certainly helps running. But yeah, the alcoholism was certainly
Yeah,
really
good
hard
for you.
period in the last 5 years.
Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. It's what do you think helped you get out of
Really coming to
the
the
rut of alcoholism?
realization that I have it in my family history. Um, I'm an athlete, so I kind of am all in. There's no partial. uh, and just the stresses of
Yeah,
life,
right.
those all contributed, I think, to alcoholism. And then what got me out of it really was just scenarios where I realized that I was risking my life and the life of others, and getting to the point where I would drink 3/4 of a bottle of 100 proof vodka in less than 4 hours, 4 or 5 hour span. And I'm maybe at the time I was probably 140 pounds.
Wow. Yeah.
And I didn't want to do it anymore, but I couldn't resist the urge to always drink, as day drinking, drinking myself to sleep. And so I was just getting so
Gotcha.
miserable. I was ready to do it, whatever I had to do. And that kind of started with recovery meetings, and getting a counselor and a sponsor, and just, I couldn't think straight at the time. So I just decided that I would do whatever these two guys said for several months span. If it worked, great. If not, I was going to go back to the bottle, and ended up working. And, still a year and a half later, I'm sober and I enjoy life a lot better.
Great. That's great. That's great. That's a vital message to anyone that's, going through addiction. I've had somebody close to me that has gone through it, but you have to want the help and seek it. So, thank you for sharing that. Now, fast forward a little bit. Your January was South Mountains, the 50K.
Actually,
I can't imagine you went cold turkey into this 50K.
I had sporadic training. I didn't.
Did you?
I say training. I had sporadic running. There was no training. There was no workouts, no long runs. It was just, okay, I'm going to try to run today. I was trying to map out a training plan myself, but, I kind of a stupid runner, notoriously stupid runner, or trainer, I should say. Go too hard on workout days even. And so trying to coach myself didn't work too well. But I went into South Mountains running like 25 or 30 miles a week, just kind of picking and choosing days. And I thought at the time, I was like, oh, I'll just be one of those guys who finishes competitive running and I'm able to just run and enjoy it. But I wasn't really running to enjoy it. I enjoy competing. And I discovered that after finishing South Mountains. I was like, I can never just be a runner. I will always be a competitor and a runner.
That was a great realization to come to, especially after an event like that. We talked to Eric was on the podcast after that, and he talked about the race and how it unfolded and such. Did you leave it with on a positive note? Did you feel good about the race?
Yeah.
And, did it leave you, obviously it left you wanting more?
Well, speaking of Eric, he was
any other thoughts on the race
reached
itself?
out to him maybe a month prior, and I asked him if there was one thing I needed to try before I went to the 50K, what would it be? And he told me to get out and at least be on my feet for 2 to 3 hours and practice taking a gel. Because I never ate on runs. I hardly even ate before runs, let alone on a run. And so that was kind of nice to at least have that one experience before 50K, and then getting into the race and having Eric there and knowing that he has a lot of experience on the trails and in the ultra realm. I pretty much just kind of followed him and learned from what he was doing. But I learned a lot in that race. One was I had to take more gels than I thought I did. So I actually only took 2 gels the entire race. And so near the end, I was really hurting, getting into that dizzy stage. And Eric and the other competitor had left me in the dust at that point, right around mile.
Yeah.
I guess they started leaving me around mile 13, which I actually had a partial seizure at that stage, but was able to kind of recover a little bit. So, yeah.
And if you want to touch on that, you're welcome to. You had mentioned prior to us starting, about
so
what was going on with the seizure. Do you want to touch
right
on
around
that
the age
a little bit?
14, I was having, we called them spells at the time. We didn't really know what exactly they were, where I would just randomly have these moments where I'd feel really nauseous. I'd feel dizzy. I'd kind of feel like I was in a dream or a trance, maybe get a little panicky. And they were happening like a couple times a day. And we didn't know what they were. So we finally went to a doctor, got an MRI, and come to find out I had a brain tumor. And so later on, after seeing neurologists, they figured out that, okay, I have partial seizures, which basically just means that I get the initial symptoms that somebody who has a full-on grand mal where they pass out and convulse. I was having the beginning stages of it, and only twice did I actually have the full-on seizure where you'd pass out and convulse. So I am fortunate in that area. So right around 14, we discovered the tumor and ended up having surgery a couple months later. Had it removed, found out it was cancerous, but never had to go through chemo, and have never shown any signs of it growing back or having any issues. But because I had the tumor probably from birth, a lot of medical professionals said that there's a chance that I would just continue to have partial seizures the rest of my life, just because my brain has been trained to do that. I just don't have them as frequently now, and I take medication for them, and unfortunately they'll creep up at inopportune times, like in the middle of a race, which basically makes me feel like I had just ran a hard, 10 miles or something. I'll feel very tired and exhausted. Yeah, I felt it coming on for a couple minutes. I was hoping it was going to pass, but then I had the full partial seizure. And when you're in kind of that dazed state of having a partial seizure, you don't think as clearly. And so, I had to stop and walk a little bit, kind of collect myself. Once I came out of that seizure, my first thought was, oh, I need to go catch Eric. And so I who knows what pace I was actually running, but I was basically sprinting to catch up to Eric right around mile 13, which is right before, a 4-mile climb. So that really destroyed it.
Oh, And I mean, the like you said, the after effects are just, you feel fatigued and such, but nothing since it doesn't.
No, mostly
it doesn't manifest itself.
Just fatigue. If I have it when I'm not in a race
time.
or earlier in the day, I'll just,
Good.
If I can get a nap in the afternoon, I'll pretty much be fully recovered. Other than that, the side effects just feel like you finished the long run. So
good.
Yeah.
You ended up finishing, was it third at South Mounts, even with that, which is incredible. Well done.
Yeah, just a couple.
So you pulled a few lessons from that race. Just a couple. If you don't mind, we'll go over a few. You already touched on the nutrition. You've thus, because I mean, we're going to get to Quest with the Crest because you did amazing there, but what did your nutrition interval, what did that end up changing to?
Okay.
So when you started practicing after South Mountains and preparing for Quest, Crest, I'm assuming you changed your interval instead of using 2 gels during a 50K to perhaps using them more frequently.
After South Mountains was the point where I realized I was the freshman in the trail and ultra realm. And so knowing from my past I couldn't train myself, I went and found a coach, and a coach who's familiar with the ultra realm, more than familiar, the ultra realm. And Stephanie Howe, she's won Western States before and finished in the. Really?
Okay.
On yours? Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So she started coaching me in February. And she has a doctorate in nutrition and all that, which I'm sure you touched on. And so having her knowledge. Oh, yes.
We were actually talking about, she's a part of Protect Our Winners. So it's, advocacy through trail running and such. So that's what our conversation was about. But she's amazing. Wonderful human being and wonderful coach. So that's tremendous.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot.
So I'm sure she helped you dial in nutrition a little more so than what you were doing. Yeah, that's great. Good. That's perfect. Yes, as you should. And obviously with coach now, you've got a little bit more feel for training and what should be taking place and transpiring. Eric was great when he said try to get more time on your feet, because that's what it's about. It's just increasing the time on your feet so you feel more comfortable with it. And as you approach a race, getting more specific about how the training goes. So you had a race. We mentioned Quest, but you had a race in between Quest and South Mountains, which was another local to us, and that was Seven Sisters, right? Yeah. So I had mentioned that because it had just drawn such a great field of local, kind of regional runners. It was kind of a who's who of trail running from our region, So Seven Sisters, for those that don't know, and I talked about it in a previous podcast, but it's another mountain race. As Cory said, it's a 25K, but tremendous amount of gain. Some tough climbing, some
really the
sections.
Point where I realized
how did that go?
I could actually be really competitive, and maybe this whole fire of competing is really starting to get rekindled to the point where I'm going to full on commit myself to this. And it was starting to get that way right before the Seven Sisters. But once the gun went off in that race, that was kind of the moment it all clicked, where I was like, okay, I am totally all into this now. And learning from a coach and how to race differently on the trail. When you're on the track or the roads, it's all about pacing, finding somebody who's similar to your fitness and latching onto them and drafting off of them. And it's just a totally different type of strategy. So I'm trying to take that into the trail realm. And luckily, having a wise coach with lots of experience is like, that's great, but you can't quite do that on the trail. Too many factors: gain, technical, terrain, fueling, all that. Yeah.
Yep. Everybody has their strengths. Yeah, we have
So
to
I was
play to our own
sitting
strengths.
somewhere around
So
fourth,
as
third
the
or
race
fourth,
unfolded, where did you find yourself?
until the last climb. So right before we got to Walker's Knob, I was starting to, I think those 2 miles right before Walker's Knob, there was a pretty quick section that was mostly just hand-sized rocks, so it made it a little easier to pick up some speed, and that was when I started making ground. Up until that point, I was very cautious. It had been my second, or I guess it would have been my third trail race at that point, and so I was still trying to figure out what I was doing. And by the time I got to Walker's Knob, I'd taken the lead, and at that point, I was like, I'm going to go for the win at this point.
So you descended. It was a great descent back down to Montreat College.
Yeah,
Very very
I
scenic
ended
route.
up finishing first and setting the course record.
You find yourself at
which
the
was
finish in first
a
place.
surprise, I guess. But that descent, I was very concerned about it because Ryan Woods, he's a professional obstacle course racer, and he is a phenomenal guy when it comes to descending down mountains. So when I passed him before Walker's Knob and I only had a minute on him, I knew I was going to have to just not care about falling if I wanted to beat him. And and so that was I guess that helped me gain some confidence in my descents, because up until that point, I was like, oh, I'm just a terrible guy to run downhill. I came from Kansas, downhills are going to be the worst for me. Maybe I can be strong enough to climb, but descending, I'm just going to always be weak. And South Mountains kind of helped build up that confidence that, okay, no, I think descents are not too bad. You just have to not care. And you have to be engaged the entire time, memorizing the trail a few feet in front of you, making split second decisions.
Exactly.
And I think it was really the descent that helped make the race. And Ryan and I we stayed the same distance apart the rest of the way. So it's a good thing I didn't slow down. Oh yeah, I forgot that.
Ryan is my old teammate at NC State. So yeah, yep. So we've when college finished, we did a lot of trail racing together too. He's a fierce competitor. So it's to beat him, that's awesome. That's a great great
Well, and if
accomplishment,
anybody
especially in
else
your
is
third trail
listening,
race
they
and with
ever race
the amount of descending that you
Ryan
had
Woods,
with him
just
on your
know that
tail.
if
So
he sees you at some point
well played.
near the end of the race, he will always find something to catch you. And I knew that prior, and so luckily he didn't see me. There were enough turns between us, but if he would have been able to see me at one point, I don't know, might have been a different story.
That might have been a different race. That's tremendous. That's fantastic. So obviously that's got to give you some confidence going into Quest. Quest was modified this year. You guys didn't get to do the Big Tom's Trail up to the Crest and then up Mitchell. Kind of cut across Bungham Horse and came down the old Mitchell Trail, which is lucky. Big Tom's is very nasty and very gnarly, and so is the Crest over to Mitchell. So, but tell us about that race. What was it like? We start going up Woody's.
So I thought,
which is 3,000
being
feet,
in
3
Boone,
miles.
training up and down Grandfather
how'd that feel?
Mountain, where you gain, I don't know, just a little over 2,000 feet in 3 miles was adequate preparation for the Quest. So getting there and gaining 3,000 feet in just under 3 miles was a totally different scenario. It was a lot of power hiking and alternating between doing like a slow pitter patter run to a really fast hike, and just kind of alternating it so my legs didn't ever get stuck in one pace, which is something I've started to learn as I've gotten onto the trail. Is even on steep climbs, it's at least helpful for me to alternate paces just a little bit. So yeah, that first climb was brutal. And it was a trick because it's like, you have, 30 some miles to run,
Yes.
and you're starting
Yes.
off that hard. And being so new to the trail and ultra realm, I was like, what's too hard this early in the race? What's too short? I knew there was a guy who'd finished Leadville before he finished third at Leadville, so I kind of figured he would be the main guy to watch out for and follow. And I felt like we were going really slower than maybe even I thought we should. And so I took the lead, I think at 2 miles into the race. And I was like, this is probably really stupid. And my coach will probably kill me after the race, but I don't know what I'm doing right now. But this feels like what I need to do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you have your descent down to Bolins, which is a nice, pretty runnable, 3 miles down to the aid station. Then you turn around and just come right back. Did you see those guys?
I don't
Obviously,
know.
You probably saw those guys on the way back up.
Distance. I would guess they were right around
where did you see
4
them?
to
How far
5
back
minutes
were they?
behind me at that point. Once I caught them again or passed them again. Before the race, I'd sat down a couple days prior, and Stephanie and I talk about breaking the race into thirds. And so I was looking at the course map, breaking not necessarily a specific distance into perfect thirds, but sections, and making a plan of like, how was I going to push in certain points, the goal of the first climb was be cautious. The descent to the creek, I knew that was the smoothest descent from other people who've run the quest who had talked to me. So I took a risk and tried to run pretty quick to the creek, thinking that was a good opportunity to make up some time. And I mean, it ended up working out, but it was a risk.
Nice. And then you've got, obviously we ascend back up Bolins and kind of do a little out and back to Colbert's. And then you come down Colbert's Ridge, which is the first section. Pretty darn
this
technical.
Is where South Mountains
but then it gets, runnable again.
That was
did you feel like
the
you
point
picked up
where I
time
decided was
on
the
that descent?
second third of the race. And so my goal on that second descent was, I want to go quick. I just don't want to destroy my calves. I don't want to bomb down the mountain. And I ended up, I don't know if I'd call it bombing down the mountain, but it was so steep and technical. I kind of made the decision that it might be more efficient for me just to let myself go, versus slowing down and, I don't know, slowing down and stepping off of big rocks. It seems to take a little bit more out of my legs. So I did a lot of leaping and tripping and and all that. And I knew that once I got down, it would be the second aid station. And there was a short 2 mile section on a asphalt road. And so I knew I could pick up time there as well. No, I had prepared. I'd had some toast before the race.
Did you have 2 gels before
this
this
bit
point?
of coffee, and then during the race, I was taking gels about every 30 minutes or so. Yeah. So no, I learned a lot. I learned a lot. I took a lot of gels and ate several cuties at the aid station, and I think one time I picked up an avocado as well. Eating solid foods, that's a totally different story for me. I don't know what solid foods to take just yet. But the gels have certainly gotten better.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. The solid foods takes practice. That's for sure. It's just kind of figuring out what looks good and what's going to taste good at the moment. What's the body craving? So,
oh gosh.
And then you have that 2-mile road section, but then you hit the Buncombe Horse Trail, which is a long and grinding climb. Yeah, that one just seems like it takes forever, and it's just like, you feel like you're in a roundabout or something because you're like, didn't I just do this? It's just just a constant.
Yeah, it wasn't
as
bad,
wet as it usually is up there.
It was
you get onto
decently wet.
the kind of the
that
the
third
kind of
climb
mild
that you were
grade.
talking
That part wet
about,
too?
that was by far the worst part of the race. It was, I was, up until that point, I think I was mostly power hiking / running up the mountain at like 14-minute pace. I think that section was, it was all I could do to ever try to run. It was maybe 18, 19-minute miles. I was really hitting the wall at that point. I was very concerned. The thing about being in the lead is that you have no idea where your competitors are.
Yeah,
You can't ask people at the aid station, and knowing somebody's behind you kind of keeps you grinding.
Oh, I know.
But with the trail race, it's not like a road race where you can glance back and see where they're at. I would listen. I'd even listen for footsteps, but it doesn't matter. It's like you can't hear. I mean, Ryan Woods at the 25K was a minute behind me, and I still couldn't hear his footsteps. But yeah.
Yeah. Yep. It's difficult. A lot of people will know that section from our Hellbender 100-miler. That's we cut across the ridge, so we come from Mitchell and do the Crest Trail all the way over to Colbert's, and then you descend Colbert's, and then come up Buncombe Horse. So a lot of folks will know that area from Hellbender. When I raced Quest, that's I was coming up Buncombe, and there was a photographer. I hadn't seen anybody in forever, and she's like, "You're the lead," and I, as far as I knew, I was in second. There was another one of my friends was actually supposed to be ahead of me, but he took a wrong turn. So now all of a sudden I was in the lead, and I know he is a bomber. That dude can descend like no other. So I was just like in fear, like I saw Sean, he was, coming to tell me. I've told this story before, but I was like, should I stop and just wait for him? Like I felt bad, like this guy had worked so hard and took a wrong turn, but anyhow,
which makes it even worse that late.
It's so quiet
in the race
too.
That's about where you hit the marathon.
Come across anybody, there's it's just the wind in you. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And so even though I qualified
to the point we didn't even mention that
marathon, I had never raced
Mountains. That was
the marathon distance until South Mountains. 50K. Yeah.
So you just went from half marathon up to 50K. Yeah. Yeah, there was nothing in between. Well, it's not far off the marathon, but you're going across the Crest, brings you to the Mount Mitchell Trail, and that is, they're doing a lot of work on it, but still, that is
I was
descent.
when I wrote out the race plan before and was trying to pinpoint areas that I knew I could make up time and use my road running legs a little bit. I thought that ridge was going to be one of them, but it was mostly underwater, and they had these little stumps across the water, but they were small enough you never knew which stump was going to move on you. So it was incredibly slow going, and so that made the descent that much worse. And you've run the race before, so at mile 20 you hit your last aid station, and you don't hit another aid station. Like you just don't hit. Yeah, you just run to the finish. And at that point, it was starting to get kind of warm, and I'd ran out of water before I even started descending. So
right. Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh man. Yeah, our last aid station was actually right before you reach Mitchell proper. So we have it at Deep Gap. So when you get off the Crest, there's a picnic shelter. They had a station there, and then you ascend to the summit, and then you drop. So like ours was even. So I had 2 full bottles.
I think Stephanie and I decided to just go ahead and
did you have to carry a filter too?
Not stopping. I just had a live straw, so I brought an extra flask with me and had an extra 12 ounces in addition to the 2 16-ounce soft flasks I was carrying in my bag, and that's what I used for the last 13 miles. And like I said, I finished all 3 of those bottles before the descent, which, when it comes to descending and you're trying to vomit, it's really hard to drink, especially in trails in the Appalachians.
Gotcha.
It's so technical. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. My legs were fried. Like, on that descent, I saw another friend that was hiking up, and I was like, dude, just tell me it's close.
Lie to
like,
me.
lie to me. I am in pain. I don't care. Just lie to me. Tell me it's a mile. He's like, I think it's more like 2. And I was just like, oh. Yeah. But it's a rough way to finish the event. Now, when we finished, we popped out and we finished in the Briar Bottoms
campground area, and then we hopped back on the trail MST, the Mountains to Sea Trail. He's had a little bit of climbing right there. It's a big open field where all of us had parked. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, Neils Creek. Okay. So yeah, that's one of our aid stations for Hellbender. The helipad. That's really nice. I mean, but yeah, that is another
I was so
mile and a half, 2 miles that you have to go.
Because when you look at the map
after
before
that
the race, you see the campground,
I probably would have cried
it looks like
if I had known that I would
just a little tiny bit in the trees, and then you're done.
God, yeah, that's brutal.
So I finished the descent. I'm really gassed at this point. I know the campground's really a fast, flat, smooth terrain, and so I'm flying through that thinking, oh, I'm gonna finish, maybe at the end of this campground, and then I hit, another trail, the Mountains to Sea, and it instantly starts climbing, which wasn't much of a climb, but at that point, I was like, it was awful. Every turn on that section of the trail, I kept looking and listening, and
everything. An anthill feels like a mountain.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And did Drew finish behind you? Was that Drew? Yeah. So, Drew came on board. I started coaching Drew. I met Drew last November. We raced the Duncan Ridge Trail, which is kind of the beginning of GDR, Georgia Death Race, and Cruel Jewel, that neck of the woods. So him and I raced, and that's where I met Drew. And we had started talking about things. And after Quest, he came on board. He was on.
Well,
after
he made
Duncan
up
Ridge.
8
We did a
minutes
podcast
on me on
together
that
and
last
talked about
climb.
it.
I found
he's a great
out
young
that
man
after the race.
an awesome story.
I was like,
comes from a hiking background. So this is all new to him too. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is a powerful climber. Yeah, he is. He's a powerful climber. He walked away from me. He's like, we were going up the climb. He's like, I think I'm going to go ahead. I was like, yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I was like, you can go for it. So he's a great young man. That's awesome. So you finished first. I mean, I'm sure that, it was an awesome experience to get to that finish line after that long one.
Oh yeah, that was the first time that I'd ever finished a race, and within a couple minutes I decided I was going to sit down on the ground.
Your quads totally blowing out.
I just never sat after races, just afraid of getting too stiff. But after a couple minutes of standing, I was like, I'm just going to sit here.
Right. Yeah. But yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. I usually the next day just make sure, like, anybody that's done that type of stuff just, goes for a hike or something just to start fleshing out the legs, because your quads just get so tight and tired. And, it's amazing what that, like that, that downhill running can do. So, you finished,
So once again,
a lot of
just,
people, they ask me about recovery.
the importance of having a coach.
When you finished the
you
race,
have a
what did
coach,
the recovery
you
process
need to
look like for you?
just listen to them. I spent most of my running career taking a little bit of advice here and there, but mostly just kind of doing my own thing. So I've been leaning pretty heavily on Stephanie and trusting, what the process and what she's having me do. And so when it came to recovery, which what she had me do, I just went ahead and did it, which was took a couple of days off, did some walking.
Sure.
Yeah,
But even what you do
something
directly after
I want
the
to change
race?
next time around. I
Did
didn't
you have a
have anything
protocol? Like,
prepped
did you have
for after the
protein
race,
shake, or
and so
what did that look like?
yeah, I didn't have any water with me except some bubbly in the car. And no, I'm not talking about champagne. Champagne. Remember, I'm an alcoholic. There's no champagne. But yes, yes. Luckily, I had a few cans of that, and that's what I drank after the race. I think I had some
Yes,
leftovers
the
that I
seltzer.
ate from a couple days
Yes, the
prior.
seltzer water.
As disgusting as that is.
Yeah. Nice. So what would you do?
Mhm. I think next time around, I'd have a protein
Right
shake
on.
ready.
So, like you said,
I'd
you
probably have
probably
some
would
type
do it
of.
differently. What would you do?
I'd probably have some fruit
what would that look
handy.
like?
I know I was incredibly dehydrated and just craving anything moist at that point, so I'd have some fruit ready. Um, I don't know meal wise what I would necessarily want to have, but I think I'd want to have more than a couple swallows of leftovers that were in my lunch bag.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, well, especially, in the time of COVID, where the aid stations were so diminished and the opportunities at the finish line were so minimal, is having that, like when I finished Umstead, I finished around 1:30 a.m., 2 a.m., whatever it was. There's not much open. So, having
Mhm.
that, ability to have something, and, thankfully the finish line had food and such, but, like just being sure that you have something packed, for post
Mhm.
race, be it the protein shake, be it,
Yeah.
a meal, have your crew have something, substantial that, you can just at least gnaw on. You may not be extremely hungry, but you will be
Mhm.
pretty quickly. So, just having that, ready at the ready, that's huge. Like, I think we prepare ourselves so well for the race. What's what we need before, what we need during, but
Yeah.
we neglect the after, where that after is actually, it's a great window for you to begin your recovery. And like you said,
Yeah.
having fluids, having food, having recovery sandals, like
Oh,
that's
cool.
always the thing that I forget
Oh,
is like,
good, good.
having something to change into. So, that's on my list for this weekend. I'm racing Old Dominion this weekend. So yeah, my flip flops are already out. They are not getting forgotten this time. But yeah, just having that preparedness for afterwards. Having a cooler or whatever it is prepared for you for all of those things afterwards. So great, great stuff there. I really appreciate a
No,
little
I
bit into
didn't.
that. Did
Mostly
you
just
talking about recovery?
took a few days off that I was
Did you get
assigned
massage
to.
or
Say
anything like
assigned.
that?
I look at it as a sign just because it's helpful for me to. Yeah, it's helpful for me to remember. Okay, she is a doctor. She knows what she's doing. I'm notoriously a stupid runner.
You were
I need to
prescribed.
listen and do what I need to do. So yeah, I took that
She is
time
a
off.
doctor.
We're not real particular about running this terrain or that terrain. I try to mix it up. And I knew after that race,
Yeah.
I was certainly banged up. So I spent the last couple weeks just running flat, So I was searching for any place that was flat, which is kind of hard to do here in Boone, but found flat terrain and tried to take it slow. And so yeah,
Mhm.
I don't. I don't. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of time to do that sort of thing.
Nice.
But yeah, mostly just
Do
get
you
out and
cross train at
run,
all?
and then try my best to focus on, what I'm eating, my diet, drinking adequate amounts of water, rolling out, and this is a difference of racing now versus racing in college, or when I raced a little semi-professionally on the roads. Is, in college, it's your job to run. So you go to school and you run. And so you have time to roll out and do these things, now, as a married man and working and all this stuff, it's like, it's a little harder to fit that in, but finding spaces in my day to do that, even if that means I'm rolling out at night while I'm watching Friends on Netflix or HBO Max or something. Oh yeah, we got one of those at Mountain Running Company.
Right, right, yeah. I typically find myself with the Theragun. I'll be on my email and just taking care of business both ways. Hitting my quads and typing out an email. You gotta squeeze it in as you can. And I think the only other piece that you might have missed on that is sleep. Sleep is definitely one of those factors. I have my athletes track it. I want to make sure that we're getting enough sleep in to help with recovery. We can't stress how importance not only the nutrition, hydration, but also sleep. And making sure we're getting adequate sleep. What would you say changed in your training? What was the biggest thing that you saw a change in from training, previously, when you were, let's say when you were training for like half marathon,
was go by time,
to,
not by distance.
to ultra, and being more specific
and
to
I don't know if
mountain
that's
training,
more of the trail ultra realm, or if that's differences in coaching or what, but no, we go a lot by time, which is quite refreshing. Because then you don't have time to think about paces or get obsessed with numbers, which is mileage, which is what I did before. When you're trying to run 100 to 120 mile running weeks, you plan your day
mileage,
around
getting
certain amounts of mileage. And so the type of training I do now is, it's all based on time, which kind of takes out that pace component of, I need to run 7-minute pace for recovery. It's like you just run what feels good. And then that kind of takes into account terrain as well. Because, out here in Boone, I might do a recovery run right around 7-minute pace at the Moses Cone area, which is carriage trails, kind of crushed gravel. But then if I hop on single track trails out here, I might be running, anywhere from 8-minute pace to 11:30. But time on my feet is what is important. So,
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Yep. Yep. Yeah. That's what the body understands. And the reality of it is, our body understands time, how much time you're on your feet. It doesn't understand miles, so that's, and that's the, marathoners are kind of, it's 26.2. I have to get in that 18 or 20 mile long run. It's really the time, that the body's understanding, and how much time you're on your feet is what it gets used to. So just training for time on your feet works the same for marathoning as it does for ultra. It is a totally different way of thinking, because we're so used to, this many miles per week is what you need to get in order to train for this distance. So just having the change from time, a lot of my athletes, it is a big switch, but yes, I use time on feet and rating of perceived exertion. So how does it feel versus, training at this heart rate or at this pace? It's more about, how do you feel? Because that's what we need to get used to in ultra. Running uphill, we have to know, well, I'm redlining. This is not sustainable. You should know that, you should be able to listen to your body and know that. But, a lot of times if we're just looking at the pace,
Mm-hmm.
that we just kind of forget about our body, and that we get so reliant on the watch.
I agree with that. I'm kind of a newbie
we have
in
to
that
be
whole
more attuned with our body, and that it works with nutrition too.
Road
you start to know when do you need more calories, when do you need to drink, when you need to eat, etc.
It's like even in workouts now, I find myself trying to find flat terrain where I can do my workouts so I can look at my pace. And, maybe that's okay sometimes, but, Stephanie does remind me it's more about the effort. And so like today's workout this morning, I purposefully found a location with the gradual climb. And it was going to have crushed gravel. It was going to have some grass. I knew there were sections that weren't necessarily the smoothest. So it kind of got me out of that pacing realm and focused on that time factor, which is what the workout was based on. So we had we had two workouts, I would say, that focused more on climbing. So
did you have any specific
it was
focus
a longer workout where
request?
The entire workout I was supposed to just do a runnable, steady climb, interval type of work. And the main sustained climb was a run where it was supposed to be a 3-hour run and get somewhere around, I'm trying to remember, 6 to 7. Yeah, it was like 6 to 7K of climbing. And so that's comparable to what you do 10.5K for the Quest. So I ended up, the funny thing about that run is, so I wasn't really sure where I was going to do it. And I knew I was going to have that steep 3,000 feet early on in the race. So I was trying to think of what location here in the high country would be similar to that. So I ended up running the access trail at a place called Elk Knob. And it's a mile access trail from the parking lot to the top of Elk Knob. And you gain 1,000 feet a mile span. And it's just like hand-sized gravel, so that annoying loose gravel. And so I ended up running up and down that access trail for at least 2 of the 3 hours of that run. And part of that was purposeful. And this is another thing about training that I like to think about is the mental side of it, and, especially in trail and ultra realm, engaging your mind. It's a long race. So in that workout, I knew if I had to pass my car every single time I came down that access trail, I could see my out. and I knew if I could do that for a good chunk of the 3-hour long run, then it was going to be that much easier when I get to the Quest. And, I'm not going to bail out.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yep. We do what we have to. Yep. I've done the same. Training for UTMB, I did a 1,000 feet of gain in a 1 mile stretch. I did it 10 repeats. 10 repeats. So I got over 10,000 feet and in 20 miles. It was it was but that's UTMB. It's you got to get used to going up, and that's UTMB is like you're climbing forever and a day, and you're still not there. So it's great though to be more specific and get used to that type of training.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that the time on your feet, if you were to compare it to
it's a little different. I think
marathon. Now I know you were probably looking at mileage there, but if you were to
college athlete,
time
you
that
have
you were
a little
training
more time
versus
for
the
that
time
sort
on
of
your
thing.
feet training for
And
50K,
being
would you
a
say
very
it's pretty
obsessive person, I was always training, overtraining. So I'd say I actually spend less time on my feet for training now than I did before. And I think a good chunk of that is having a coach who realizes that being recovered and enjoying running, it plays a huge factor. And I had gotten to the point where I wasn't enjoying it. It was a duty getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, putting in 12 miles and then going out for another 6 in the afternoon and doing 20 to 25-mile long runs on the weekend. It's like, you do that for several years, you can certainly get burnt out.
Yep. Yeah. Yes. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. I think my athletes are always surprised by how much less I have them do and how much it produces for results. They're seeing better results with less volume.
Yeah.
So it's, I think some people, we get a little too carried away and worried about, I see these training plans that some people write, and I'm like, I don't even know if you're going to make the starting line. You don't need all of that. And it's just
which
all this high volume. And
I push mow it.
It's not
incredibly steep.
But,
and I was thankful for
you strength train?
A friend of mine. He's also a runner. He offered to mow my lawn 2 days after the Quest, which was a huge relief, because I don't know how well I could have pushed a mower up my lawn. So, but yeah, that's probably about the extent of my strength training, at least for right now. No, except I guess some like that 3-hour long run.
Gotcha.
There's
very good. Did you practice
where
hiking
you're
at all?
tired enough and it's steep enough you have to hike, and so that was kind of the extent of my hiking. I wouldn't say there was anything hiking specific that I did.
Okay.
I think probably the biggest difference between my training now and my training
anything
before,
else that you think of that maybe a difference? Anything you've done?
Wiser, more receptive to advice, both from a coach, from my wife, who sees me on a daily basis and is now very thankful that I don't lay on the floor and take naps because I'm so exhausted that I'm actually functioning at night and able to hold conversations. So it's good for our marriage as well. Yeah, they can look me up on Facebook, just Cory Keehn. Same thing on Instagram.
That's great. That's great.
Now I'm kind of a plain Jane
Cory,
type of guy.
how can people find you?
Very complex.
Are you on social media?
But yeah, they can find me there. I also do some health and wellness coaching off to the side. So yeah, it's called secondwindwellness.com, and that's 2. So secondwindwellness.com with the 2.
Do you have a website for that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll get that in the show notes. Very cool.
Thanks.
Awesome, man. I really appreciate you coming on, Cory. Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah,
being
so
open.
The end of August, I'm going to do the Grand Further,
on
which is a 25K
here. I hope
here
it
in
keeps rolling
Boone.
for you, buddy.
Started the profile trail.
You had already mentioned to me what's coming up, but if you wanted to say what your fall plans are.
Run down the Scout Trail and a little bit of the Cragway, and you loop back up on the Scout Trail and down the profile again. So you crest Grandfather twice. So that'll be a fun 25K. I feel like living here in Boone, that's kind of a requirement. So still trying to convince Ryan Woods to come join me again for this one. So yeah, I'll be doing that at the end of August, and then end of November I'll be running JFK 50 miler, and maybe find something in between those 2 races.
Well, I wish you tremendous luck. It's been a pleasure talking with you. Thank you so much, buddy. Like I said, just an amazing story. Such a humble, amazing individual, Cory. Thank you so much for your time, and congratulations once again. I'm sure we're going to be seeing your name all over the place in the race results as time progresses here. Really look forward to seeing what Cory does in the fall. I'm sure it's going to be awesome. So good luck to you, sir, and thank you again for coming on and sharing with us your story and all that you've done thus far. and we certainly wish you the best in the future. As I mentioned in the intro, I got into hard rock. I am recording this on Wednesday, June 16th, and on Tuesday, June 15th, I was running, and I was running in the farm fields nearby my house, and usually I do not have cell phone reception there. For whatever reason, God granted it, I did have cell phone, and I had a message pop up on my phone from Facebook Messenger. I looked at the name, just took a glance, and I was like, I don't recognize it. I'll check it out after the run. And for some reason in my mind, it was like, Aaron, double check that. And so I double checked, and it was Dale Garland, the RD for Hard Rock 100. My heart stopped for a moment, as did me. I stopped on the spot and opened up the messenger and saw that my spot had come up in the wait list. My God, I was beside myself with excitement. The message told me to give him a call or email him, so I did on the spot, just in the excitement of the moment. Left a message and proceeded to be the crazy man that was running around the farm fields, screaming his head off with excitement, and did another lap. And like I said, I usually do not have reception there, and the call came through, and he invited me into to Hard Rock. I posted on social media, and I do not take for granted how fortunate I am to be able to race Hard Rock. I know people have been waiting a lot longer than I have. I started in 2016 with my tickets. My first 100 was the Grindstone 100. My God, to be pulled onto the wait list, like I didn't even know, honestly, that my name was on the wait list. I remember running the Chattanooga 100, which was 2018, and I'd finished, and I'd made a post about Chattanooga, and Martin Sneakcloth, he messaged me saying, "Congrats on getting your name pulled for Hard Rock on the wait list." I had no clue, so I instantly went on and saw my name deep on the wait list. I'm talking deep, like, oh, it's on there, but I don't think I'll ever have the chance to run Hard Rock. And then if you're familiar with what's gone on the past 2 years, obviously 2 years ago, they were not able to host the event due to the conditions on the course. Last year, coronavirus prevented the race from happening again. And on to this year, where the race is taking place on July 16th. The way they did things, I had moved up to 17th, I believe, on the wait list. So I was like, I still don't have that great of a chance. But as fate and luck would have it, I kept moving up due to people not accepting the invitation, and proceeded to gain my spot. I can't tell you how excited I am. As I said, how grateful I am. I am going to do everything within my power to move along that course and kiss that rock at the end. I know altitude is definitely a factor here. I do not have the ability to get out there too far in advance. We're talking 4 weeks away here. I even thought about just like renting an altitude tent to try to help cope with some of the altitude that will be, because it's up there. I mean, we'll be between 10 and 12,000 feet many times during the race. I've obviously been at altitude before. I've run at altitude before. Never run an ultra marathon. Well, that's not true. I have run a 50K in the Great Rocky Mountain National Park. Rocky Mountain National Park, excuse me. But that said, I'm excited. Obviously, just can't wait for the opportunity. My wife is going out with me. One of my best friends, Morgan Elliott, he's going to be crewing and pacing me. I'm hoping my friend Sam Reed, who's been on the podcast, might come out and run with me. It's Drew Anthony's, who's also been on the podcast, might be out there. So I definitely got some support, which is awesome. This late in the game, it's amazing. I just started working again with Patrick Regan. I really felt like, I needed a coach as well, to have some accountability and just kind of look over my shoulder, make sure I'm doing the right things. It's hard to be subjective and objective on yourself when you're coaching yourself. So I reached out to Patrick. Thankfully he had some room, and we're working together again. We've always had a really good working relationship. So I'm stoked to be working with him again, and we're kind of going through things together, working this out together, making sure that, I'm kind of getting in some vert training and all that good stuff and taking care of the small things. So you'll see on Strava, the training I'm doing is going to be, my collaboration with Patrick. So, I've already been really getting back to core strength, and I've already done some weighted vest hiking and plenty more to come. Vert training, like I said, it's to come. My legs are feeling good since Old Dominion. I kind of said to myself, there's everything has a reason. There's you can believe whatever you want, but I believe everything has a reason, and there was a reason that I was forced to stop at 80 miles, and I think it's because Hard Rock was coming, and I didn't know that, obviously, but I'm so glad that my legs feel fresh and good, and that was a great training run. Obviously 80 miles, time on my feet, and had it not been for that rattlesnake and panic attack, I think I would have finished. It's hard to say, right? I mean, we don't know the reality of it, but it's just putting things together. I just got the runner's manual. Just got that in my email, so going to be looking through that and touching base with my crew, and making a pacer plan, making a nutrition plan. I really went into I went into Old Dominion a little haphazard. A short timeline again to from when I got in 3 weeks prior to Old Dominion, but I really did not do my due diligence and plan well for it. So this time I am really, I'm already started my planning and my conversations with my wife as to let's do this and this, let's plan for this. This is some ideas I have, as well as things that she observed and feels that we could improve upon. I just purchased the Topo Mountain Racer 2s. I'll probably review those in my July newsletter. They feel great underfoot. A little heavier than what I'm used to. Not bad, not too weighty, but I ran through some river crossings today. They drained okay. Not the greatest drainage, but they did drain okay. But they still felt a little bit, like I said, a little bit heavier than what I'm used to. They moved really well and felt really good underfoot. So potential there for a good Leadville shoe. They're gonna do that was my first run in them today. So I'm looking forward to giving them another whirl, and then definitely going to increase my pack size. Learning lessons from Old Dominion. I'm going to go with my larger Solomon, the Solomon Advanced Skin. Was it 12 or 15? I think it's 12. But I'm going to go with my larger pack. Capacity to carry more things. Definitely going to use poles. Preparing to hike a lot. So I'm trying to be efficient with that, and we're incorporating a lot of power hiking into my training. So there's a lot of X factors in this one, like I said, but I am just gonna take it 1 mile at a time. and we can pick up our pacers at 42. I fully plan on using that and getting my pacers out there with me to make sure that I'm coping with the altitude okay and doing fine. And I need that reminder to keep eating, keep drinking. Sun is always an issue with a ginger like me, so I need to be thinking about that and how to move, through the exposed areas and still be covered up and protect myself. I've got some great people with great experience. Morgan, obviously he's out in Colorado, just a fantastic runner. I'm glad to have him and his girlfriend Mercedes. They're on my side. Sam Reed has a ton of 100-mile experience. Hard Rock is his bucket list race. So I hope he can come out. I'd love for him to have that opportunity to see the course and be part of this, and bring his knowledge to this. And my wife, who knows me, better than anyone. I hate to get emotional again, but I really can't express how happy I am to be able to do this. This is kind of one of those events of high magnitude for me. UTMB was another one of those. Boston Marathon, going back to college, Penn Relays, that, these are all just like monumentous occasions in my running career. So, I want to make sure those that haven't gotten in know how much, I appreciate their situation, and I pray for their entry, sooner rather than later, because, this does mean a lot, and I recognize that. So I'm not taking this lightly. Like I said, going full bore on the training and everything I can do wisely and smartly, and taking care of the business, the small things, self-massage, stretching, the core, like I said, and strength, and weighted vest hikes, everything I can think of to throw, at this one, just so I give my best, to get to the rock and kiss that rock. That's the goal, is get there. That's my big news. Morgan had a great race this past weekend. If you don't know, I've been coaching Morgan. Morgan ran the GoPro Vail Games. He was fourth in the 10K. Joe Gray won that, but then they had the Pepe Challenge, which was a climb descent, as many laps as you could do in a half hour, and Morgan won that. So congratulations to him. And Mercedes, his girlfriend, ran as well, and she did extremely well. It's been really gratifying to see her progress as well. So I love working with the two of them. I have to call my cap on runners right now. I am kind of over my limit. So I am calling my cap. I can still do individualized training plans if you want a 12 or 16 week plan. I can still do that, but I cannot accept individuals right now. Just have more than enough athletes. I want to make sure that I'm taking care of everybody that I'm coaching. So I have to hold off for now. Thad, as I said, is still looking to take on some athletes. So if you want more information on how to contact on any of this, it is on my website, mrrunningpains.com. So you can check out that. All of the previous episodes, podcast episodes, and newsletters are all housed on my website as well. There are links under the Connect With Me page. So if you go to the Connect page, you'll see where you can click on the link for podcasts or the link for newsletters and see all of those archived. And there's also a search mechanism. So if you're looking for something specific, you can search it. As always, I want to thank you guys for the support, for listening, for downloading, for liking, sharing, all of that good stuff. And always, always, always thank you to my Patreon supporters. It's wonderful. I've started posting some new videos to the YouTube channel. That's Aaron Saft is my YouTube channel. Posted another core routine the other day, and got a few more videos that I'm working on and in progress. So those are up there. And then, my goodness, July newsletter will be coming up and out before we know it. I hope everybody's doing well, enjoying their summer, getting in some great training. My next episode will be with Brandon Whistler. Brandon just won the Warhammer 100. We've been working together for a little over 8 months, and that was the culmination of his training, and he won it. Wow, I couldn't believe it. It was fantastic. What a great run to him. Can't wait for our conversation. That will be next week's episode, so stay tuned for that. Until next time, keep running, my friends.